Most people know two things when it comes to the perceived duration of life. Number one, they know that as you get older and older, life feels shorter and shorter. And number two, they know that you can counteract this shortening by living an interesting life. So if your life is full of change, variety, adventure, and fun, life will feel longer because you form more memories and you do more things, essentially. And so it can be roughly said that the perceived duration of life, we will refer to the duration of life in the following, is change divided by age. So perceived duration is change divided by age. So when age goes up, perceived duration goes down, and when change goes up, perceived duration also goes up. But here's where it gets interesting. I have a lot of change in my life, and I am also young. I'm 18 years old. And somehow my life feels very short. And so I started to dig into it. Why does my life feel short? Even though socially, spiritually, geographically, physically, mentally, skill-wise, all these things change in a massive pace. I am young, and yet my life still feels very short. So I've decided to look into it, and this is what I discovered. I have discovered that the duration of life is not just change divided by age, but it has three more variables. And this is what we're going to discuss today. We're going to discuss all the variables, how they interact, and what they mean. My intention with this video is to reveal to you where you can improve. Because maybe you already have enough change, but maybe you don't have enough meaning. Maybe you don't have enough presence. Maybe you have too much addiction. And so when we see all those things and understand what they mean, we can improve the ones that hold us back the most so that our life feels longer again. I see life feeling long as one of the most important indicators of a good life. Because let's flip it. If you don't remember anything, which is the opposite of life feeling long, then it's as if you have never existed. But when life feels long, it is a sign that you are doing everything right. And so we want to maximize life feeling as long and as fulfilling as possible. This does not mean, however, that we must necessarily stretch our biological life, because those who try to grip onto their biological life too much usually lose it the hardest. But this is just a side point. What we want to focus on in this video is the perceived duration. So does a month feel like a day, or does a month feel like a year? We want to make a month feel like a year because then we, so to speak, live more. This is what we want to maximize. So here are the variables. We have life's duration is equal to change times meaning times presence divided by addiction divided by age. The reason everything is a multiplication is that if 1 turns to 0, like if presence turns to 0, then life's duration is also going to drop to 0, because if you can't remember anything, well then it's as if you didn't really experience anything. You understand, right? So let's start from the outside and go inward. We have 1 divided by age. That means if age goes up, perceived duration goes down. If age is low, perceived duration is high. This is very simple to explain. There's a much bigger difference between being 1 year old and 2 year old versus being 51 and 52 years old. This is just how it is, essentially. So we can't really change that. This is why I put it on the very outset. So let's ignore age. Now we have the next pair. We have presence divided by addiction. Presence refers to being able to pay attention to the moment and then also being able to recall that moment. That means When you can't answer what you did in the last 4 hours, you are very low in presence and you need to fix that. If presence is high, life's duration is high, life will feel longer. If presence is low, life will feel shorter. If presence is 0, life's perceived duration is going to be 0. We have the antidote to addiction, to presence, and that is addiction. Addiction in this context refers to time spent in pointless misery. If you spend a lot of time in pointless misery, life will feel, in the moment, it will feel long, but retrospectively, it will feel very short. And this is a good time to mention that this equation is not for the moment, but for retrospection. Because in the moment, those things usually flip. Like a moment spent in pointless misery usually feels longer than something enjoyable, but retrospectively, the moment that was spent in pointless misery will be forgotten, whilst the good moment will not. And so we want to focus on retrospective. We want to focus on life feeling long retrospectively, not in the moment. Because in the moment it's kind of bad, but retrospectively it's very good. So, addiction refers to time spent in pointless misery. And that makes sense. If you spend a lot of time in pointless misery, if you spend a lot of time glued to your phone, being hungover, or being in the low after you've been high, life will feel short. This is why all the stoners get nothing done at all, because their life just feels so short because they are so addicted that they don't find the time to do anything. You know what I mean? I think you do, because we've all been addicted. I've been addicted to a bunch of things in my life. And I can tell you, addiction makes your life feel incredibly miserable and short, but long in the moment. So, if you're addicted, if you're glued to your phone, for example, work on that. If you don't meditate and can't remember anything and don't know what you did in the last 4 hours, work on presence. And now we have the interesting pair of change and meaning. With change, I refer to novelty, fun, adventure, and variety in general. So if you do fun and interesting things, change is high. If you move somewhere, go on travel, get to know new people, change is high. If you learn new skills, change is high. But here's where it gets interesting. And this was the final and missing piece for me. We also have meaning. You see, some changes are irrelevant, others are not. And this is what meaning accounts for. Meaning refers to making progress towards your goals. I have noticed that my life feels a lot shorter than it should, simply because recording a video twice a week, doing one cold approach a week, and hitting the gym 4 times a week is not enough. Those are the areas I care about. And so basically, learning stuff in university or going on a trip, although it is change, does not matter nearly as much as doing progress in the things that I care about. And so what I have learned is that I was lacking meaning. I'm not particularly addicted anymore. I am present. I meditate a lot. But meaning was lacking for me because I simply wasn't doing enough for my goals. And so I fixed that, and guess what? My life started to feel longer. And so I want you to look at those things once more. And I want you to decide which one holds you back the most. If there is one that you like working on, don't work on the one that holds you back the most, because that's where all the progress is going to be. Okay, let's say you are a 10 in addiction and a 10 in meaning. Making meaning go to a 15 from a 10 to a 15 is going to change less than going from a 10 to a 5 on addiction. So this is why we want to remove the constraints before we focus on improving the other things. If you lack presence, if you're a 1 out of 10 in presence, it makes more sense to bring that to a 3 than it does to bring, let's say, meaning from a 6 to a 7. You know? And by the way, here's where it gets very beautiful. When you maximize all the positive ones, the change, the meaning, and the presence, and you minimize the negative one, that is addiction, because they multiply, it's almost as if you can live multiple lives in one. So, this is what we want to strive for. We want to live 10 lives, while everyone else lives 1 or a half or a 10th of a life. You see, some people have so little change, so much repetition, that every day blends into the other. They have so little meaning, meaning they don't work on their goals. They don't pay attention to their meaning, to their life, to their existence, and they are also addicted. When you have such a bad combination of traits, that's when life is going to feel very short. But when you have a lot of novelty, fun, adventure, and variety, and make a lot of progress towards your goals, and remain super present at all times, and remember everything, and remove every single addiction, life is going to be amazing. And this is what we want to strive for. My name is Kalle. My goal is to inspire 10,000 good decisions. If this video helped you, subscribe. If it did not, leave a few hate comments. And in any case, we'll see you in the next one.